Many men have the same question. Is anal sex really possible? Do women enjoy it, or is it just a taboo? For some, it's a forbidden fruit. For others, the most intense fantasy. But here's the interesting part. While it's not often talked about, anal sex is actually much more common than you might think. According to research from the American Urological Association and the World Health Organization, approximately 35% of couples in the U.S. have tried anal sex at least once in their lives. However, only 15 to 20% of women say they enjoy it regularly. Hello, I'm Dr. Lyra Benton. Welcome to my news channel where I focus on urology and men's health. So why is there such a difference? Because the secret lies not just in the introduction, it lies in preparation, hygiene, trust, and respecting your partner's boundaries. Today, we'll explore all the mysteries of anal sex, scientific data, psychological facts, biological mechanisms, and what we as men should do. We'll reveal them all one by one. If you're ready, let's get started. Let's first examine the anatomy of anal sex from a biological perspective. The anal canal has a completely different structure than the vagina. The vagina naturally lubricates, stretches, and is even prepared for childbirth. In contrast, the anus contracts to protect itself. Therefore, any penetration without lubrication carries the risk of pain and trauma. The American Urological Association states that one of the biggest risks of anal sex is mucosal tearing. These tears can lead to bleeding, microtrauma, and infections. The WHO states that anal sex increases the risk of HIV and other sexually transmitted infections by 5 to 10 times compared to vaginal sex. This means that this experience can be dangerous if performed without preparation. However, when performed with proper technique, adequate lubrication, and patience, it can create intense pleasure for both men and women, thanks to the dense nerve endings around the anus. This is why correct knowledge and proper preparation are the most critical factors in anal sex. Anal sex is an experience that should never be attempted without preparation. Because the body's natural structure isn't ready for this, pain, trauma, and health problems are inevitable if care isn't taken. Here, we're transitioning to anal sex with scientific and practical preparation steps. 1. Relaxation. Foreplay is the most critical key to anal sex. As a woman relaxes both physically and mentally, the muscles around the anus involuntarily open. Massage, kissing, caressing, and vaginal stimulation trigger the release of oxytocin and dopamine in the female brain. These hormones increase feelings of trust and relaxation, paving the way for pleasure rather than pain. Reports from the World Health Organization indicate that 70% of anal sex without adequate preparation results in pain. 2. Lubrication. Since the vagina doesn't produce natural lubrication, using lubricant is not an option, but a necessity. Water-based lubricants are the safest option because they are compatible with condoms and don't cause irritation in sensitive areas. Silicone-based lubricants last longer but are more difficult to clean. Oil-based products such as olive oil or Vaseline should never be used as they weaken the condom and increase the risk of bacteria. 3. Start small. The anal muscles are structured differently than the vagina. Direct penetration can often be traumatic. Therefore, it's best to start with fingers or small anal toys. Gradually loosening the muscles prevents the brain from sending threat signals. This makes the woman feel safer, more aroused, and makes penetration easier. The American Urological Association states that this method is the most effective preparation for reducing pain in women. 4. Correct position. Spooning or doggy style facilitates penetration. Side lying helps the muscles relax more controlledly and offers a more comfortable start for the woman. Doggy style facilitates penetration, but may be too deep to begin with. Therefore, side lying or woman on top positions are preferred for first-time experiences. The choice of position should be entirely focused on increasing the woman's sense of control. 5. Patience. Anal sex should not be rushed. The faster you go, the greater the risk of pain, irritation, and tearing. Any movement made before a woman feels ready subconsciously instills insecurity in her. Conversely, a man who is patient and moves slowly offers a woman both physical comfort and psychological security. This makes the experience unforgettable. As men, you should. Don't rush the preparation, listen to your partner's body, and let them take control. Because the golden rule of anal sex is this: the more patient you are, the more pleasure you'll experience. Now let's take a look at the challenges women experience in anal sex. The biggest obstacle to anal sex for women is the fear of pain. While the vagina is biologically flexible and can adapt to childbirth, the anus, on the contrary, is tight and closed. Therefore, unprepared or rushed anal sex can lead to physical pain, psychological trauma, and, in the long run, a disinclination towards sex. According to data from the American Urological Association, a significant number of women report that their biggest fears when trying anal sex are pain and losing control. Therefore, it is essential for women to feel comfortable, safe, and prepared. When performed correctly, anal sex can also be a source of intense pleasure for women. There are dense nerve endings around the anus, and stimulation here can trigger even more powerful orgasms in some women than vaginal stimulation. Furthermore, when pressure is directed towards the anterior vaginal wall, the G-spot area can be indirectly stimulated. However, this requires patience, the use of the right lubricant, the gradual relaxation of the muscles, and, most importantly, mutual trust. So, what are the biological and psychological effects of anal sex on men? For men, anal sex is often associated with a sense of power and control. Scenes seen in porn, in particular, reduce this experience to a fast-paced, brutal performance. However, in real life, this approach can be detrimental to a woman's body and soul. Biologically, during anal sex, men release increased dopamine and endorphins, creating intense feelings of pleasure and satisfaction. However, without the woman's consent, comfort, and preparation, this pleasure doesn't translate into a lasting and healthy experience. Psychological research reveals that the biggest mistake men make is viewing their partner as a performance object. In reality, anal sex is not a demonstration of control, but rather an opportunity to deepen mutual trust and connection. When the woman feels safe, the experience creates not only physical pleasure, but also a strong emotional bond between the couple. Let's also look at it from a cultural perspective. The World Health Organization reports that anal sex is not exclusive to Western culture, but is also widespread in Asia and Africa. 35% of couples in the US and 28% in Europe have tried anal sex at least once in their lives. However, the percentage of those who engage in it regularly is limited to 10-15%. This difference shows us something. Anal sex is becoming increasingly normalized in society, but it's still not a universally preferred experience. Only 15 to 20% of women say they enjoy it regularly. So it's not really a matter of necessity. It's a matter of discovery at the right time with the right partner. Now let's move on to the hygiene, health risks, and scientific facts section, which should be carefully considered. Anal sex is not only an experience that requires preparation and patience, but also requires serious hygiene and health practices. The anal area is an area where intestinal bacteria are densely populated. If proper precautions aren't taken, these bacteria can be transferred to the urinary tract during anal to vaginal sex, leading not only to urinary tract infections, but also to much more serious conditions. According to reports from the World Health Organization, using a condom during anal sex is essential, not only to reduce the risk of sexually transmitted infections, but also to protect against infections. Furthermore, condoms should be changed after each anal penetration. Neglecting hygiene not only endangers the partner's health, but can also undermine the foundation of trust in the relationship. The use of lubricant is also vital. According to data from the American Urological Association, the risk of tissue tearing increases by 40% if lubrication is not used during anal sex. This not only creates a painful experience, but also paves the way for infections to easily enter the body. Scientific research highlights the seriousness of the risks. European Association of Urology, EAU, anal to vaginal sex increases the risk of urinary tract infections by threefold. World Health Organization, WHO, the risk of HIV transmission can be up to 10 times higher during anal intercourse than vaginal intercourse. American Psychological Association, APA, 40% of women say their biggest fear about anal sex is pain. All this data clearly demonstrates that hygiene, condoms, and lubricant are essential for safe and enjoyable anal sex. As men, we must always use condoms, change them before going from anal to vaginal, always use lubricant, and maintain good hygiene. Because when a woman feels safe, the experience is not only safe for her health, but also much more pleasurable. In summary, when done correctly, anal sex can be a unique experience and a source of intense pleasure for couples. However, when done incorrectly, it can lead to a loss of trust, pain, infection, and trauma. While women's regular pleasure rates are low, with proper preparation and confidence, the experience can be fulfilling. The key is for men to respect women's boundaries and understand their biological realities, because only when a woman feels safe and her body is respected will she let go and open herself up to exploration. Remember, the information I share here is for general health and educational purposes only. We've discussed everything from biological realities to psychological aspects, health risks to safe practices. Now you know. The secret to this experience isn't size, firmness, or porn scenes. It's trust, preparation, and respect. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. See you in the next video. Take care.